Well, hello, and welcome back to Black Myth Wukong. This is really just unfinished. So it doesn't show the other ending, does it? Yeah, this is just a lore reading. Hopefully I have everything I need. Although I'm pretty sure I need to do a new cycle. Because it wouldn't have my thing in it otherwise. The last entry of character. What happened to my health? Alright, yeah, since the level is technically not over yet, I need to enter a new cycle. Okay, first time playing on controller, so what the hell's going on here? Journal? The characters 30 out of 32. Matrea, Erlang. I'm pretty sure you get like 2 more entries. What about the shell? We can get to that later. But first, in journals, maybe I'll go to do meditation spots first, since it's considerably shorter. Alright, let's do Blackwind Mountain. The Arbor, Forest of Wolves. Maybe these don't have descriptos. Alright. If they don't have descriptors, that makes things easier, I guess. Let's go with lesser Yaoguais. So, 90. Oh, is this gonna take a while? I think it might. Oh well. Wolf Scout. Immaculate skills, the wolf's lone aim. No price too high, his heart aflame. Yet wayward efforts brought no gain, a futile vision all in vain. Among the wolf guys, there was a young one, ambitious and always seeking rapid progress on the path of Tao. However, his time spent practicing was short, and his skills remained shallow. He couldn't yet grasp the deeper techniques of his clan, leaving him impatient. One day during his routine patrol, he carried a cask of fine wine. As he passed the mountain gate, he encountered the gatekeeper, Bulgard, who had a weakness for liquor. Eager to learn, the young wolf shared the wine with Bulgard, and seized the opportunity to inquire about secret techniques. Partaking in the wine, feeling compelled, Bulgard taught him a few tricks. Rejoicing, the young wolf hurried home to practice. And he got wrecked by everyone, especially me. Alright, just use narrow keys. Wolf Sworn Sword. Meager of wit, wrapped in white attire. Huh. Maybe there was more. Let's go to Wolf Scout. Yeah, there was more. Shit. 2 months passed, and having found little benefit in those teachings, he contemplated giving up. Recalling his previous success in bartering wine for knowledge, he retrieved a small golden statue and approached the snake patroller. Persuaded by gold, the greedy creature shared some techniques with him. Back at home, the young wolf practiced as instructed. Another month passed, yet his gains remained minimal. Undeterred, he repeated his tactics with other guais, exchanging valuables for teachings. Every time he visited everyone in the mountain, amassing a repertoire of techniques. Yet despite practicing one today and another the next, he made no progress. Eventually, a compassionate elder wolf offered guidance, yet the young wolf conversely started lecturing the kind old wolf with his strange mastery, leaving him speechless. From that point on, no one in the clan was willing to teach him. You should listen to your elders. Wolf Swan Sword. Meager of wit, trapped in white attire. In sludge they crawl, yet yearn for hire. Bent to power, king's favor they seek, where even lowly fowls may peek. A white-robed wolf guy, patrolling the hills, seized a sword from a traveler. Jewels studded its scabbard, its blade sharp and bright. Coveting it, he strapped the sword to his side, reveling in its splendor. Yet when it was time to give tribute, he hid it away. The other guys chided, "Without offering such treasures to the king, how will you earn his favor? Or do you fancy patrolling forever?" The wolf guy scoffed. "Such treasures we cherish. The king barely notices. You offer scrap metal and dream of favor? You are fools." They dismissed his words, seeing them as mere excuses to shirk his duty. While they toiled on, the wolf guy indulged in peaches and drank wherever he could lay hands on them, keeping the very best for himself. The others knew his punishment would come and waited. One day the Black Wind King held a lecture on Buddhism in the mountains. Speaking of enlightenment and revival, his guardians spread paper talismans, and all were commanded to consume them before the chanting and prayers. Hours later the king inquired about the enlightenment. A pause fell. The white-robed wolf guy stood, and there emerged others, one by one. Why is this zone of truth? The next day a decree was issued to the guardians. The wolf guy was promoted to a minor captain. All the other guys, puzzled, whispered among themselves. How had the wolf guy not only escaped punishment, but found himself rewarded? They indulged in sin and got rewarded for it. I'm not too sure what it's trying to teach. Wolf Soldier. Sun-swept hills they guard and tread. From glint of steel their daily bread. Far flung from their native land, all nights for home their souls shall stand. Ever since the Black Bear Guai returned from Guanyin and crowned himself king, he boasted of the arts he had learned. Tales of his newfound method of practice and power of revival allured many a Guai to Blackwind Mountain. Seeking the king's favor, these minions toiled with abandon. Among them, a wolf Guai worked with tireless zeal. He rose before dawn, patrolled the mountains, and continued well into the night. All of the treasures he found were first laid at the king's feet. His life was one of labor, and yet, without a moment to make friends, despite his dedication, his presence barely stirred a whisper among the others, and his name was seldom uttered. His brother, seeing such unacknowledged dedication, spent his savings for a seat in the king's lecture. The wolf Guai sat there, heavy with regret for the silver he had squandered, both on the journey here and the seat at the lecture. That could have been used to buy himself a shield or blade. Had I a new blade, he mused, glory could have been mine. As he pondered this, golden-clad guardians scattered paper talismans before him. Commanded to consume them, they then chanted in meditation for hours until the king sought signs of enlightenment. The white-robed wolf Guai stood first, claiming a fervor within and clarity of mind. The diligent wolf Guai thought to himself, sweating fervently in a crowd is no marvel. Achieving clarity after chanting is no miracle. Just as he was lost in thought, the blue ox Guai rose next, followed by others. The diligent wolf Guai stayed seated, unsure until the king gestured for them to all sit down. Later, treasures were doled out. The ox Guai received a golden pill, the white-robed wolf Guai a title, but the diligent one kept his old shield and dull blade, patrolling the mountains still. Only from then on, he did it all under the white-robed one's whims, ever obedient. So he's looking for leaders, I guess. The wolf stalwart. Neither sky cares nor earth will hold. By liquor's laugh bold spirits unfold. In drunken dreams a cosmos wide, wake with warriors cast aside. Rare was their revelry for the minor guys who patrolled the mountain paths. Their delight not granted but taken in human guise. Thieving sustenance from unsuspecting townsfolk, the charade proved fleeting, for the villagers grew wise to their deceit, and the guys, oft caught mid-bite, and met with the town's rugged justice, deterring their mischief. Among them was a wolf guy with a penchant for drunk, who, on a day of indolence, lay beneath an ancient tree. Suddenly an elder wolf, cloaked in feathers of a crane, appeared to him, asking, "Why forsake your patrol for idleness?" The wolf guy sighed. "I long for drink, but the townsfolk see through me, and left to quench my thirst only in my dreams." The elder chuckled as he whispered a secret. "Seek the shrine, conceal yourself behind the curtains, and the sacred spirit's liquor shall be yours to drink." Then with a shift of form he vanished. Wavering in doubt, the wolf guy transformed and hurried to the town's shrine. There, veiled behind curtains, a sacred effigy stood, its origins unknown, the altar laden with delectable offerings and fine spirits. As advised, he nestled himself between the curtains, indulging in the liquor until his belches betrayed him into the gathering crowd in the shrine. Trapped between the curtains, the wolf guy listened as a voice rang out. "The wine jar offered is empty. Our tributes were received." A chorus of prayers erupted, beseeching favor from the immortals. From that day forth, folks from miles around flocked to the shrine, affording the demon endless drink. But as days passed, the once delightful treat turned bitter, and those prayers, be them piteous or greedy, weighed heavily upon him with helplessness. One day, unable to endure the bitterness any longer, the wolf guy burst from behind the curtains, hoisting the jar and smashing it on the altar amidst the screams of onlookers. With a deafening crash, he suddenly awoke beneath the tree. No shrine, no incense, no crowd around. With a tired sigh, he took up his axe and set off to patrol the mountains once more. I guess it's to teach him to not indulge in drinking too much. Wolf Archer. A master archer, none can compare. Timid when danger fills the air, never brave when faced with fear. Escape his choice, he stays clear. The Black Winged King hosted a banquet in the temple to celebrate his birthday, and all the Yao Guais attended. During the feast, the king hung a lucky ornament on a tree branch, declaring that anyone who could shoot it would receive a rare fortifying golden pill as the reward. The Yao Guais were eager to try, but the fierce wind hampered all their attempts. Among the Guais, I guess, was an old wolf known for his remarkable archery skills. He was cautious, unassuming, and kept to himself in a corner. Nursing his drink, a few eager Yao Guais asked him to try, and though he declined, they persisted with their teasing until he reluctantly agreed. Slowly, the wizened old wolf stood up and moved to the position. Some youngsters laughed at him, deeming him incapable. Unperturbed, he calmly strung his bow, let loose an arrow, and struck the target dead center, causing a commotion among the crowd. The old wolf received the reward, and admiration followed suit as others toasted him. Among them was a youngster who commented on the bolus intoxicated. "How generous our king is," he remarked. "Far better than that Ling Shuqi, who was good at making pills but never shared them with his underlings." What a tightwad. The youngster's words cast a shadow across the old wolf's face, and he silently took his leave. He had roamed the mountain with Ling Shuji long before the king's reign, yet you judged his deceased former master in front of him. "Low as he is, you are in trouble now," warned an elder Guai. However, the young Guai shrugged off his warning. The next day, the old wolf returned the golden pill to the king, citing its value too high to possess by an archer. Hearing the news, the other Yaoguais urged the young one to apologize and seek forgiveness, but he remained defiant. Within a few days, while venturing outside, the youngster was killed by several arrows, each piercing his heart. Many said that even the golden pill couldn't save the youngster from his fate. So he killed his other wolf homie. I wonder if I should actually keep looking at the lesser Yaoguais, or should I just skip right to the characters? I think that characters will actually make more be better, be more interesting, I guess. The Chiefs. I mean, they're all important. I don't know, man. Alright, Wolf Sentinel. With his axe both weapon and cane, his brows bushy. That's a wolf as well. His hair white as snow. Who claims the twilight years are in vain? For learning late can still make one grow. Long ago, the Wolf Sentinels were the personal guards of old Ling Shuji. They were masters of the long-hafted axe, and their name was spoken in awe among the Yaoguais. When the Black Wind King returned from Guanyin and rebuilt the garrison in the mountain, he took in many wolfguais who had wandered here from Shito Ridge. This angered the wolfguais native to Blackwind Mountain. To appease them, the Black Bear Guai pledged to revive old Ling Suji. The wolf guais then had no choice but to endure in silence. Yet mere days after the awakening, the old wolf vanished, and no one had seen him since. Upon learning of this, the old Black Bear did not look into the matter, but allowed a senior grey wolf guai from the kingdom of Shito to take old Ling Suji's seat and even his name. This roused the local wolf guais to fury and launched protest after protest. To their surprise, the wolf sentinels at the Black Bear guai's behest seized the lesser guais who led the unrest. The new Ling Shuji flew into a rage at these guais, threatening to devour them whole. They were spared this fate only by the timely arrival of Guanji, the Fireblade Wolf. Thereafter, under the new Ling Shuji's command, the wolf sentinels led every patrol of lesser guais on the mountain. Never did anyone dare rise against Ling Shuji again. I think I'll go by chapter by chapter. Wolf Assassin. Hills and rivers, nature's way. Kindness grows like grass and wood. Plants may fade then bloom in May. All shall still stand where they stood. Once upon a time, a young wolf followed a grey elder wolf to learn the art of hunting. Despite his cleverness and diligence, the young wolf struggled to catch any prey. One day, the pale elder commanded him to find food alone or face hunger. Then the young wolf, hiding in the shadows of the mountains, finally managed to catch a rabbit. However, instead of eating it alive, he gently licked the rabbit's wounds as if to heal them. Okay. The rabbit took the chance and fled into a pond, struggling to swim to safety. But the young wolf in pursuit forced it back into the water. Just as the rabbit was about to drown, the young wolf rescued it, softly nudging its head and helping it breathe. The rabbit woke up conscious but bewildered. Suddenly, the distant howl of the great elder startled both of them. In his panic, the young wolf accidentally crushed the rabbit under his paw. Okay. Heartbroken, the young wolf wept bitterly as the elder approached and inquired, It became clear. The young wolf couldn't bring himself to kill the rabbit, so he repeatedly spared its life. He also feared his own hunger. That's why he refused to let go. Acknowledged, the Grey Elder then advised, "Your false kindness brought misery. Instead of hesitation, both of you would have been better off with a swift end." The Grey Elder's words seemed to have dawned upon the young wolf. Later, it honed a lethal technique of hurling whirling blades from afar for stealth kills, believing this to be the ultimate form of mercy towards its adversaries. Oh. It's just very kind, but it needs to eat. It's a very kind wolf. Ah, how nice. Croaky, Crow Diviner, Bandit Chief, Skeletal Snake, Snake Patroller. Like, I think it goes all the way up to the Rat Archer, but not the Rat Archer. Maybe something. Yeah, I think that's all in Chapter 1. Croaky. Crikey. In pools they dwell, forms unrefined, ugly and odd, voices entwined. Bellies swell with a raucous tune. In death they burst in angry boom. Two frogwives practiced in the marshes. The smaller frog was often bullied, yet the bigger one always stood up for him, and soon they forged a strong friendship. One day, amid a contest held by the Gulang to appoint a sergeant among all the frogs, turmoil stirred and rippled through the ranks. Finally, the choice was narrowed down to the two: the brawny big frog and the quick-witted small frog. Though the other frogs were discontented, they dared not voice their dissent. The two then were assigned to guard the dwelling of Borli Golang. On their duty, a valuable amber glass was found broken. Unable to identify the culprit, all the frogs began clamoring for punishment against the two instead. The big frog attempted to reason with them but got antagonized by their words and soon escalated the argument into a brawl. The frogs interpreted this as a reaction out of embarrassment, hence evidence of his guilt. The small frog, meanwhile, remained silent beside him. Seeing this, the big frog chided him for not speaking up in his defense and even began to suspect his smaller companion. Hesitated for a while, the small frog then admitted to breaking the glass. However, the other frogs dismissed his confession, arguing that one of them had committed premeditated vandalization while the other had neglected his duty, and both deserved punishment by death. The small frog grew anxious and could not help but engage in the argument. As their voice grew louder and louder, their bellies inflated larger and larger, until some of them finally burst, splattering blood and flesh all over the place, leaving none unsoiled. So they all died? Crow Diviner. He knows the world's fate through divination, yet cannot secure his own salvation. In what he thought was a place of peace, fate's tangled threads never cease. It is said that the crows gathering in temples, having listened to sutras and teachings every day, developed a spiritual nature and could predict fortune and misfortune. Thus, some fortune tellers who called themselves crow diviners liked to set up stalls in front of temples, using crows to pick fortune sticks for divination. They always lit sandalwood incense, which symbolized the temple, and the stalls, and claimed that their crows were the spiritually enlightened ones from the temple. One such crow diviner had a crow he had raised from a chick, which could communicate with him using specially made fortune sticks. Every day he sent the crow to various parts of the city to observe people's lives. When clients came to seek fortunes, he would use the fortune sticks to inquire about information from the crows. He mixed this information with his own understanding of human affairs, weaving prophecies that were half true, which often managed to deceive. Ah. And the crow can actually communicate with him using the fortune sticks? That's very devious. One day an official came seeking a fortune, offering a large sum of money. The crow diviner told him that his official career would be prosperous, and that he would reach a high position. Unexpectedly, the official not only failed to get promoted that year, but was demoted instead. Enraged, the official brought his household servants to demand an explanation. The crow diviner used the information gathered by the crows to explain that the official had not spent enough money on temple renovation, which magically convinced him. The official, deeply believing in his abilities, even introduced the crow diviner to his colleagues. You just did not have enough faith. The crow diviner amassed a considerable fortune through this, but he too knew too many secrets of the officials and feared for his life. He decided to change his career. One day he attempted to drive all the crows away, but they refused to leave. The crow diviner tried various means to get rid of them, but the crows, unable to endure his mistreats any longer, attacked and pecked him to death. Afterward, the crows transformed into human forms, donned the attire of the fortune tellers, and continued to sell fortunes around the temple, deceiving the people as the crow diviner had done. But now they're actual crows, so they must be telling the truth. Bandit Chief. From humble start to seek revenge's claim, paths may differ, yet burn with the same flame. In bygone days there lived a youth in the town. The son of martial arts master, his father's fondness for drink led to a foolish act that landed the old man in jail, leaving only the youth and his mother struggling to survive. As the situation grew dire, the young man took on any work to make ends meet. The villagers praised him for caring for his mother, deeming him a dutiful son. In an unlucky year of crop failure, the mother and son set out to seek refuge with relatives. Along the way, a gang of bandits emerged, eyes fierce, faces scarred. They brandished their blades, demanding nothing but gold. The mother and son destitute and resorted to begging for mercy, but the bandits showed no mercy and were intent on killing them. The young man, believing their death was imminent, seized the bandit's knife. With a resolute heart, he ended his own mother's life and pledged himself to the bandits. Oh, and so he joined their ranks. News of the incident spread, and people condemned him as a coward, truly a cursed son. Years passed. One day the entire gang of bandits was wiped out, leaving no trace. Some said a hero had come to rid the land of evil and uphold justice. Others claimed a Guaya had emerged in the mountains, bringing a long-delayed reckoning. Debates raged on, but eventually the topic faded from memory. One day a man covered in blood stumbled down from the mountains, recounting an encounter with a towering bandit, neither human nor Guai, wielding a massive blade to rob the roads. His face bore an uncanny resemblance to that cursed youth, yet he spoke of freeing humanity from its burdens. You guys revenge? Although I don't remember this guy. Skeletal Snake. Ennobles fate's vengeful breath. Binds the bones of snakes in death. A soul mistreated here to stay. Resentful will blown astray. In the village of Shaded Heights, there lived a young man, orphaned and impoverished, constantly mistreated by his fellow villagers. One day, hunters from the village discovered a strange cave in the mountains, emitting eerie sounds that sent shivers down their spines. Too afraid to enter themselves, villagers pushed the young man in to investigate. Lost in the darkness, he stumbled and fell from a cliff, crying out in agony, believing the cave harbored a fearsome Guai. The villagers abandoned him and fled in terror. Sitting at the bottom, the young man wept bitterly. Amidst his tears, he heard the sound of bones snapping and rustling of movement. Startled, he fell silent, only to hear his footsteps approaching. Filled with fear, he yelled, "Stay away! I am an orphan and burdened with misery. My flesh is lean, feasting on me won't do you any good." Surprisingly, as soon as he spoke, the footsteps stopped. Time passed, and within the darkness, hunger gnawed at the man's senses. Despairingly, he pleaded, "There's no one coming for me. Devour me quickly so I may have a merciful death." Then the footsteps resumed, inching closer. Terrified, he assumed his end was imminent. Yet, to his astonishment, he felt a piece of cloth gently brush against his face. Reaching out, he realized it was a sleeve, which he grasped firmly. The sleeve guided him to stand and led him through the darkness until they found the cave's entrance. As the daylight bathed them, the young man finally saw what had been guiding him, a skeletal serpent guai. Seeing the young man startled, the guai suddenly extended its neck and swept him out of the cave. Afterwards, the young man was saved by passing merchants and departed from the village with them. From then on, his life gradually improved and prospered. As the saying goes, misfortune may be the harbingers of fortune, and fortune may conceal misfortune. While not an absolute truth, when events reach their peak, change becomes inevitable. From change, opportunities arise, and the lowest valleys often reveal the clearest paths. These skeletal dudes are nice guys. Well, I always beat the shit out of them, so you know. Snake Patroller. As seasons turn from slumber it parts, hidden in green a hunter with arts. Small in shape it devours the grand, or strikes a pain no cure can stand. In the kingdom of Hami, a small city stood against a mountainside. Its lush grasses and dense forests are haven for serpents, much to the townsfolk's constant dismay. There lived in this city a snake hunter, masterful in his craft, who had freed the people from many a serpent's threat, earning a fair share of silver in the process. He boasted not of his wealth, instead, he often dispensed porridge to the needy and prayed for all. So revered was he that the magistrate awarded him a dwelling for all his family to live within the town walls. One day, a ragged monk seemingly delusional came begging at his door. The snake hunter's kind-hearted wife offered clothes and food, but the monk, unsatisfied, demanded liquor. Liquor, huh? The crowd scorned his impudence, their complaints growing loud until the snake hunter's return. He silenced the clamor and instructed his wife to bring the monk a gourd of spirits. Touched by the gesture, the monk warned, "A serpent guai lurks in your home. Ignore it not, or your family shall perish." The snake hunter scoffed at such mad ramblings and dismissed him promptly. Yet his wife heeded the monk's words and urged her husband to search for the guai. He, however, brushed aside her concerns. In her persistence, the wife fetched up a mad monk once more to banish the evil. Indeed, with raw meat and an iron hook, the monk drew from their home a massive serpent, taller than a man, clearly a creature of power. 4 limbs it sprouts and venom deadly, the monk declared. The mere touch is death. With those words he slew the serpent guai for the woman. Strange thence, the town remained untouched by further snake scourges, as if by the mad monk's hand, peace was restored. Well, I guess the snake hunter's out of a job then. Maybe he knew about it. Fungiling. As mountain rains kiss the ground, youthful green is all around. In her virtue's quiet display, even guais in the woods repay. In the highland bounds there lived a widow and her girl, left to fend against the harsh days alone. The mother sold pancakes in the nearby village. The girl gathered firewood around ground grain and cooked meals, shouldering her share for the family's responsibility. Ceaseless rains had worn down the woodshed, long neglected without a man's hand. The beams rotted and the roof caved in. One day the girl found atop the ruins a gleaming mushroom, vibrant and capped like a bowl. Dew dancing on its surface, a spark of life too precious to pluck. She sheltered it with straw, letting it thrive in peace. "He's drinking. What are you doing?" Laden with tasks, the girl had no time to play with other children. All her secrets and dreams she whispered to the mushroom, as if it were a dear friend. The toils of life led the widow into illness, urgently needing money for the medicine. After discussing it, the widow and her daughter decided to sell their house. A wealthy neighbor who had once been close to the widow's late husband expressed interest in buying the house. However, this neighbor was very stingy and tried to exploit the widow's illness to lower the price. They spread various rumors to scare away other potential buyers, bullying the helpless widow and her daughter. Worried and anxious, the girl often hid in the woodshed to cry. The mushrooms witnessed all her grievances. The next day, something strange happened at the neighbor's house. Overnight, mushrooms had sprouted all over their property. When the neighbors ordered their servants to clear them away, they discovered a large, eerie mushroom about a foot tall, neither green nor yellow, growing on the main beam. When they tried to cut down the mushroom with long-handled sickles, it suddenly rose into the air, opened its cap like a fishing net, and floated above them. It shook itself and then fell onto the man of the house, crushing him to death. The air was filled with countless spores the creature released, knocking everyone to the ground. Afterward, the mushroom crawled out of the ground, transforming into many guais. They helped the widow and her daughter pack their belongings and leave this village, disappearing into the mountains. Well, that didn't really help them. Just commit murder. Ginsengling. Inherent gifts in these mystical sprouts reside. Walking forth from the earth, spirits untied. Roots serve as limbs, nourishing body and mind. Beware excessive gathering brings hardships unkind. It was written in ancient records that consuming ginseng would bestow longevity, leading many to develop a fervent passion for devouring this precious tuber, especially aged ones. However, some scholars dismiss this notion, viewing ginseng as both a tonic and a poison. Its elevated status stemmed from its humanoid appearance. They said, nonetheless, those who made their living by harvesting ginseng always found eager buyers. Deep within the valley, the younglings of ginseng shoots trembled with fear at the unmistakable sound of footsteps. It was the dreaded rhythm of the ginseng harvester's mountain shoes, crushing the thick layers of decaying leaves in the rocky earth. And with every eerie resonance, the siblings of the ginseng plants vanished, disappearing one by one. Only the tiniest survivors managed to evade this grim fate, their diminutive size providing a fleeting reprieve. Yet even they bore the mark of fate, a crimson thread, marking them and restraining them. Who knew when the harvesters would return, to dig them up once they grew into their full potential? Time raced by, swift and unyielding, and on that day the familiar footsteps resurfaced. But the years that had passed, it was likely the offspring of harvesters who were generations younger than those who came before. Then a quickened pace, a sense of anticipation. The crimson threads had surely been spotted. But oh, what ill fortune. As the ginseng harvester reached for the thread, it led him to a grim sight, the entwined remains of a skeleton. A curse gathered on the tip of his tongue, but before he could spit it out, the ground behind him rumbled with the sound of scattered dirt. He turned his head. The shifting soil unleashed a monstrous creature, towering and menacing. Fear gripped the harvester, urging him to flee. His frantic screams piercing the air, shouting a man-devouring guise. Shouting of man-devouring guise, alright. Anyway, that should be chapter 1. Which is great. Oh. Let's go, Chiefs. Bullguard. A majestic of height, he looms with might. In heavy armor, ready to fight. His eyes a fearsome, vacant lot. A sage or fool, we know not. Being the gatekeeper of the mountain was a thankless task indeed. For more than a century, Bullguard stood watch, never once climbing the ranks, yet he voiced no grievances, for his devotion to the king was his sole concern, and the king's pills his only desire. He treasured those pills within a lacquered box of pearwood, lined with silk. Each time he partook of them, he performed a ritual, a process of cleansing, rinsing, and offering incense to the universe, thanking it for its gifts. Many a lesser guai had tasted the king's rewards, but none with such reverence as Bullguard. What's in those pills, Godang? One day a curious guai inquired, how do you maintain such vigor despite the toils of this job? With earnest simplicity, Bulgard replied, "It is the king's pill that fuels me. Take more and you shall be as I am." The Guai confessed, "We have partaken in our share, yet felt nothing. Mayhaps the king's gifts to you are finer?" Bulgard was aghast. "From the same hand we are served. How could there be a mine and yours?" The Guai, still skeptical, insisted on an exchange of pills. Soon after, the Guai felt no change, while Bulgard remained as robust as ever. Some say a fool's luck, but perhaps it isn't a lack of wit that's compensated, but the power drawn from blind devotion. Yeah, it's faith. And, placebo. Guangji. Alright, time to learn about these molepuckers. To prove his worth, he gave sinister advice, yet reaped the bitter fruits of his own vice. Though justice remains silent, it never sleeps, and when it strikes, no one escapes its reach. In his youth, Guanji was not a monk, but a little wolf guai who yearned to be human. He often took human shape to play in town, but the people always saw through him and chased him away. When he asked the other Yao Guais why, they explained, "You may look like them, but you don't act like them. That's why they know. If you want to learn to be human, go live among them. Spend time with them to learn their ways and manners." He took this advice to heart and begged his master to grant his wish. His master, old Ling Xuji, who was close to the black bear guai in the mountain, agreed. The black bear guai transformed the pup into a little monk and sent him to study under Elder Jinchi, an old friend. At first, the fellow monks disliked him. They played tricks on him, and he always fell for it. Slow and gullible as he was, Jinchi named him Guanchi. The great wisdom, hoping he would grow clever and sharp, so his fellow monks couldn't bully him. With Jinchi's care and teaching, Guanji learned to read, write, and abide by the monastic rules. Gradually, he assimilated into their ranks. One day, 2 monks arrived at the temple. One had a fair, devout countenance, while the other had a face covered in fur. They possessed a wondrous treasure, the Kasaya of Eversparks. Jinchi had never seen anything like it before, and longed for it desperately. Hoping to repay Jinchi's teachings and nurturing, Guanji devised a plan to acquire it for him. Guanji never imagined his mistake would ignite red tides of flames that engulfed the temple he called home. Afterward, Jinchi took his own life, and Ling Xuji fell to the Jingubang. Wukong's weapon. Even the black bear guai surrendered and was taken by Guanyin. Guanji saw how many had suffered for his sake, and he knew he had failed utterly at being human. He shed his monk robes and retreated to the mountains, repenting with Jinchi's teachings. In his years of practice in the mountains, he forged a new weapon inspired by the raging flames he saw that night. He named it the Red Tides. Even to this day, after numerous years, he continues to hear a persistent call echoing through the mountains. Guanji, Guanji. Who could it be that keeps calling him? How about Guangmao? With a monk's facade but a serpent's heart, he wields deceit playing many parts. His desires shift, unsatiably pursued, faithless to his master, all teachings he eschewed. Guangmao, the great tactician, was not like his senior fellow pupil Guangji. From a young age, his heart yearned to be a legendary Yaoguai master, remembered for ages. But fate had other plans. When old Ling Xuji sent his beloved disciple to Guanyin Temple to be a monk, old White Snake Guai grew worried. The snake feared it was old Ling Xuji's ploy to win favor with the Black Bear Guai, and commanded Guangmao to join the monkhood as well. Okay, so there's a White Snake Guai who sent Guangmao to be a monk as well. Before he left, the snake warned him, never fall behind, least of all behind Guangji. But no matter how hard Guangmao tried, Elder Jinchi never seemed to favor him as much as Guangji. Even when he learned faster and trained harder, Guangmao consoled himself, believing this stemmed not from his own failings, but from the snake's ham-fisted meddling, which had turned the elder against him. He found solace in the notion of returning to the mountains one day when he could embrace his Yaoguai nature, unshackled by such trivial concerns. Guangmao can still recall Jinchi's teachings. He can be too extreme, too uncompromising, always leave some room and some things unfinished. But the day Jinchi saw the Kasaya of Eversparks, he desired it so intensely that he forgot his own words and wept long into the night. Guangmao saw the thought taking root in the old monk's heart, to kill for this prize. Everyone shield away from the idea, but Guangji boldly spoke the truth. Guangmao seethed with inexplicable rage. In his mind, a scheme within a scheme began to take shape. As Elder Jinchi drank tea with the two monks, Guangmao glimpsed an untamed malice in the monkey's eyes. The hunger for vengeance, building in Guangji's gambit, Guangmao goaded and prodded, weaving a merciless plot that left no room for escape. The old monk was delighted, and for the first time he acknowledged Guangmao's wit. With his plans set, Guangmao knew that doom would strike that night. Summoning a gust of wind, he hid in the bamboo grove behind the mountain. As anticipated, the great fire broke out that night, but it failed to kill the two journeying monks as intended. Instead, it burned the entire temple to the ground. Alas, the world harbors such petty souls, capable of ensnaring the lofty and vanquishing them with cunning plots. Perhaps this is what was meant by slaying them with borrowed blade. No, so it's Guangmao that made Jinchi try to kill the two traveling monks, which is the Tang monk and Wukong. Boli Gulang. Wrinkles on his skin so snug, a whiff of air, a fishy hug. Legs that spring to heights above, from the dirt and muck they love. In the lands west of Blackwind Mountain, within a kingdom named Hami, stood a small town. Every day before dawn, a humble market would gather just outside the town gate. It was a place where peddlers exchanged goods while waiting for the gate to open. But due to the prices, even the townsfolk began to participate. Thus, this market gradually gained its reputation. A few months ago, an old oil peddler arrived at the market, garbed in robes of pearly turquoise color, with eyes that gleamed like copper bells. He had a voice that rang out with a boom, and his breath was foul and pungent. Yet he happened to be a keen talker and naturally was disliked by everyone. Bad breath, I guess. The oil he produces, on the other hand, was sought after by everyone, who would not prefer the oil clear and smooth, and not to mention its price. One could exchange but a pinch of fragrant powder for a large gourd of such oil. One day, a wandering Taoist passed through the town and decided to visit the market. He enjoys his experience until he sensed an eerie green mist emanating from the old peddler. A guai, no doubt, the monk chanted, and before the peddler could manage a decent struggle, it revealed its true form, a green-skinned giant frog. The bystanders were startled and grabbed whatever they could to use to attack. The frog kicked the ground with both legs, leaped higher than a tree, and swiftly fled toward the mountains. In pursuit, the folks arrived at the marshes, where they witnessed countless small frogs scraping mucus from each other's bodies, collecting it in a large barrel. They then applied fragrant powder to themselves, hugging and sniffing each other in sheer delight. Silently, the people approached and peered into the barrel. The mucus inside gleamed with clarity, just like the oil they had favored. At the sight, they were occupied by bouts of nausea and began to vomit. None had the strength to pursue and kill guais. All the frogs noticed this and hastily fled, leaving the marshes filled with a rather unique scene. It's just mucus from each other's bodies. It's like their body oil. Anyway, Langley Gubor. With swollen belly, strange skills arise. A frog's croaks can summon thunder's cries. No long needed to call the breeze. In shallow waters, frogs' songs please. Here we must speak once more of that wandering Taoist. He passed through the kingdom of Hami, and ever since his encounter with the frog guy, he had made it his mission to hunt such guys. Far and wide he sought their traces. On a day he came unto a valley where croaks echoed, crackling with eerie flashes. Joy rose in his heart, and he hastened to the riverbank. There he set up a makeshift altar to subdue the guai in the river. Incense and candles were lit for the offerings. Then, with his cap removed and hair unloosed, the Taoist traced the 3 seals of power with vermeil cinnabar, and drew the banishing sword. He mumbled and muttered the spells he knew. Then his roar shook the air. Thus be Lord Lao's decree. With a flash of his sword, he snatched up a seal and flung it skyward. A plume of flame flared and vanished. The frog guai in the valley, startled by this commotion, sprang from the water. A great yellow frog clad in hues between green and blue, different from the last. The Taoist, seeing the Yao Guai spring forth, swiftly lifted a second seal. It flared up in a trice, and a raging wind followed. As the third seal caught light, pealing thunder cracked from the lowering clouds. Both the Taoist and the Yao Guai were startled, hands flying to their heads. As silence fell, they looked up to see trees blasted and split, while the storm above broke and scattered. Both scared of lightning? A Taoist froze, then scrambled to ready his brush for 3 more seals. The frog guai, unhurried, drummed its belly. The sky stood unchanged. Both each stroke, a dozen shafts of golden light lanced down, each striking close around the Taoist. Tumbling and rolling, the Taoist could scarcely evade the beams of light. Then the frog guai gaped its maw and spat out a swarm of electrifying tadpoles. No matter how the Taoist dodged, they pursued him relentlessly until he fled into utter rout. Alas, in matters of renown, it is common to judge power by the intricacy and grandeur of one's methods. There might be some wisdom in that. Was this, frog shooting down lightning? I think this is, this chapter 2 then. Let's go to Yao Guai King's Ling Xuji. His grey fur speaks of fierce might, with blood-stained fangs that gleam in the night, claws like soul reapers, tails swing death's song. Feigned Buddhist ways, but his bloodlust stays strong. The grey wolf guai of the temple was once an exile from the kingdom of Shito. When Shito was laid to ruin, the wolves fed, following the grey wolf on a long and weary road, until they found shelter under the banner of the Black Wind King. Unlike the old Ling Xuji, who pursued immortality and detachment, the grey wolf cared nothing for the ways of deities and Buddha, nor for the empty promises of eternal life. Instead, his heart was set on mastering strength and skill. He honed his craft with iron claws and fangs until he could strip the very flesh from the bones of his foes. When the old Ling Xuji vanished, Black Bear Guai saw fit to elevate the Grey Wolf to be the new master of the Wolf Guais, giving him the name Ling Xuji, and tasking him with guarding the Guanyin Temple. The Wolf Guais who came with the new Ling Xuji from the kingdom of Shito also rose in power and surpassed those who had served longer in the distribution of spoils and favors. The local wolf guais had little affection for the ways of the new Ling Xuji, and after finding themselves thrust aside, bitterness took root in their hearts. In their shared sense of grievance, they found a new unity of purpose. Often they gathered in secret, comforting each other, sharing the old memories when the old master was in power, and quietly plotted against the new one. But Ling Xuji was prepared. Under the pretense of a roll call, he gathered the local wolf guards in the temple and gave the signal to his loyal guards to seize the malcontents. The temple erupted into chaos. Ling Xuji then leaped down from the roof into the crowd, ready to devour all who dared to betray him. The Fireblade Wolf, hearing the commotion, rushed over and managed to hold Ling Xuji off and brought the minions time to flee to safety. When Black Wind King learned of this, he was ready to unleash punishment upon the rebellious wolf guys, but the snake guy mediated, and peace was restored. Yet from that day forth, the local wolf guys refused to tread even within the shadow of the walls of Guanyin Temple. He was about to eat them. But didn't he say he would spare them? Anyway. The Red Lawn. Smoke rises high from wood afire. Hit the back, let the beats respire. As in mist, thunders conspire. After the case of the old Long King of Jing River was settled, the Long princes found themselves facing an uncertain future. These are the 4 Longs. Following the journey west, rewards were given based on merit, but only the Long princes alone awaited judgment. Heightening their anxiety, they sought out Yuan Shoucheng and asked him for a sign of their fortunes. The sign showed the Long lies hid, not a time for action, which became a thorn in their hearts. Among them, the most concerned were the 4 Longs, who governed the 4 rivers and knew well the might of those above. They took the initiative to resign, hoping to save their lives by retreating. Yet the letters they submitted to the Celestial Court were all returned. Time flew by, and one day, Yuan Shoucheng sought out the 4 Longs. He relayed that the signs had shifted to "the Long lies hid, it stirs in the deep," indicating a favorable time for action. Upon hearing this, the 4 Longs left their underwater abode and went their separate ways to plan the next moves. The Red Long was quite astute, knowing that Black Bear Gua was greedy for treasures and had the protection of Guanyin. He bartered all his valuable possessions with Black Bear Gua in exchange for an ideal cave nestled in the mountains. Afterward, he went into seclusion in the cave and slept for many years. One day he awoke and wanted to soar up the sky and stretch his body again, but he found that he could hardly climb the clouds. He remembered an ancient saying: when a Long wishes to ascend to the sky, it must first climb the clawwood. He wielded his thunderbolt tail to carve out a set of clawwood in the mountains to help him fly, but it was still to no avail. The Red Long was unwilling to accept defeat and sought help from Black Bear Gua. Although Black Bear Gua was not good at flying, he couldn't resist the chance for profit and presented itself. He sold the Boshan sensor he had bought from Guanyin's place to the Red Long, claiming that the sensor could create clouds and smoke. He cited a passage from ancient texts to persuade the Red Long. A Long cannot traverse without clouds. The Red Long believed this to be true. He embedded the sensor on his back. Oh, so that's what it is. And burned his will to forcibly create smoke from it. When one sensor was not enough, he added another. Each time the sensors emitted smoke, they greatly consumed his will. Yet the help they provided was very limited. Although the Red Long could use it to fly again, the flight could never compare to that of the old days. He could only reside wearily among the claw woods. Alas, to think that the world harbors such vexing realities. A skill once mastered can fade with neglect. Such is the nature of all knowledge. If not applied, it withers away to nothing in the end. How lamentable. I wonder what made him stop flying. Was it the treasures they gave away? It can't be. Anyway, now we know what the stuff on his back are. Elder Jinchi. This the gold baby. With empty hands he preached, yet gold was his quest. He left no wealth, just doctrines to attest. A life of greed, his doom was sealed tight. If deeds were weighed, could he still would he still face his plight. After 2 months of peace, Tang Monk reined in his horse. He saw towers and halls nestled deep in the fold of the mountains. At the gate of the place, they saw that it was indeed a temple. The master and his disciple exchanged greetings before passing through the mountain gate. In the main hall, they saw the name of the place: Guanyin Temple. Tang Monk was overjoyed, but Monkey said, "Master, this is no good place. Better to leave soon." But the monk wouldn't listen. He knelt before every golden statue he saw in prayer, and the monkey, impatient with his master's attitude, began to strike the bell incessantly, startling all the monks in the temple. Those from the upper and lower halls all poured out. The monks greeted Tang Monk. Monkey used his see-through eyes to look around and laughed. "Why do you monks here look so sickly and weak with your spirits drained? Have you broken the precepts?" In Tang Monk's perception, the monks all wore brand new kasayas and had tall, sturdy bodies. He considered Monkey's words to be mere nonsense and remarked, "Don't speak so recklessly." Then he turned to apologize to the monks. The monks themselves regarded Monkey's words as nonsense as well. Only 2 small monks, hidden in the crowd, dared not reveal themselves. The elder of the temple invited the master and disciple to the back chamber for tea. After the monks had taken their seats and the feast was laid out, the 2 small monks assisted the elderly monk inside. Tang Monk bowed respectfully. The 2 exchanged a few pleasantries, and Tang Monk inquired, "May I ask about your esteemed age, venerable elder?" The old monk replied, "Despite my many mistakes, I have lived to see my 270th year." When Monkey heard this, he laughed and said, "Old skinflint, why do I smell Yaogua in this temple?" The old monk did not answer. Tang Monk hastened to interject, "This disciple of mine can be somewhat unruly at times. Please do not take offense." A small monk was just then using an exquisite vessel to pour 3 cups of fragrant tea for them. The monkey stared at him and said, "Where are you from, little monk?" The small monk set down the tea and swiftly hid behind the old monk. Biting his finger, he said, "This one has a furry face and a strange head. It's a bit scary." Was that Guanji? Tang Monk glanced at Monkey and said, "Mind your words. Don't offend people with your brashness," and then shifted the conversation by praising the tea and the vessels. The old monk didn't seem to mind. Instead, he asked Tang Monk, "Noble sir, hailing from the Emperor's capital, might you have any treasures that you could lend me for a mere glimpse?" Tang Monk declined repeatedly, but Monkey laughed and said, "Master, isn't your kasaya itself a treasure? Why not allow him a glimpse?" All the monks laughed. Then they brought out 12 cases of kasayas, unfilled them, and hung them up for Tang Monk to see. But Monkey laughed and said, very well, put them away. Bring ours out for a look too." Tang Monk grabbed Monkey and tried hard to stop him, but Monkey said, do not fret. I know what I'm doing." Without more words, he took out the kasaya for the monks to see. As the old monk gazed upon such a wonder, his spirit was touched. He walked up to Tang Monk and knelt with tears in his eyes. "This humble monk is very bereft of fortune. My eyes are dim and clouded, I cannot see it clearly." Monkey laughed again and said, "And how do you intend to inspect it clearly?" The old monk replied, "If you would be so kind and trusting, allow me to take it to the back chamber and study it carefully overnight. I shall return it to you tomorrow morning before your departure. May I know your thoughts on this?" Upon hearing this, Tang Monk was startled and chided Monkey. Monkey laughed and said, "What are you afraid of? Let him take it for a look. If anything goes wrong, I'll handle it." Then he burnt down the temple. Didn't know how bad it'll do to my voice. Let me get a drink. Alright, I think that's a bit better. It's so much talking. I think I talked for an hour straight. Well, let's continue. Black Wind King. I don't know why I put on headphones. I don't need headphones. The future is dark. Destiny winds may shift. Each rise and fall comes in its drift. Once a guardian of the southern sea, greed turned him to a slave of misery. Since its return from Guanyin, the Black Wind King's spirit brimmed with grand plans. He vowed to restore his might in the mountains. He knew well that after years away, to win respect from the Yaguais, strength alone would not make them bow, so he took many steps to try to earn both awe and loyalty. When he was with Guanyin, he learned the mantra of revival. Harnessing the voluntary self-sacrifice of wolf guys, he brought back old Ling Xuqi from death. But that ungrateful old wolf left only a few words after the revival and vanished from his sight again. Vanished? Did he run away or did he die again? The Black Wind King feared the wolf pack would fall apart without a leader. He had to choose another wolf to head the pack, a grey wolf guy, who wandered here from Shito Ridge. Strong, in his prime, was a fine choice. The Black Wind King gave him the name of Ling Xuji and helped him take the seat. Yet the wolf pack rose against the new master in the temple and almost led to a bloodbath among kin. In his frustration, the Black Wind King used the mantra to try and bring back to life the old monk he used to practice with. But the soul of the monk did not return to the stitched corpse. Instead, it fused with the gold, silver, and copper coins the monk had buried in life, forming a maddened golem. It wandered and disturbed the mountain garrison day after day, never relenting. Is that a wandering white? The newly appointed white-clad noble is far from ordinary. He typically indulges in solitary reading and poetry. Despite his outward appearance of loyalty and sincerity, he remains shrouded in mystery, making it impossible for others to fathom his true intentions. Alas, to think too highly of oneself, and then end up achieving nothing. That is true in that they say, a fool with ambition is worse than a nobody. Black Bear Guai. Isn't that the same thing as Black Wind King? In Guanyin's grove, his greed won't cease. Southern tides bring no release. Schemes cloud his sight. On Bodhi Peak, he learnt life's worth is peace. In the purple bamboo grove where Guanyin resided, life was usually tranquil. The black bear guy spent his days eating bamboo shoots with Aster and drinking homemade bamboo leaf brew. His days had become so unremarkable, they almost faded into nothingness. One day the Long Princess paid him a sudden visit with Red Boy. Red Boy? Her servant. Oh. Flustered, the black bear hastily gathered his dishes, trying to hide the mess. The Long Princess rolled her eyes and asked, "Have you thought about the task Guan Yin mentioned to you a few days ago?" Black Bear Gua didn't answer. He simply retrieved a box out of the chest and handed it to the Long Princess. Red Boy snatched it and opened it. Inside was a transparent, honey-fried sugar sculpture of an immortal riding a lion, known as the Lion Immortal Candy. Yesterday there was a Dharma assembly. At the top of the feast, there was this exquisite and eye-catching sugar sculpture. I specially saved it for you, as a token of my respect. Do you presume to understand my tastes? Keep this for the children. Hearing this, Red Boy lost interest and stuffed the box back into Black Bear Guai's arms. Only then did the Long Princess let out a contemptuous laugh. Cognizant of his blunder, Black Bear Guai grumbled, "I'm willing to serve, but my abilities are mediocre." "I'm afraid I can't handle such an important matter," the Long Princess replied. "Do you think we don't know that?" "Don't worry. There'll be those fiercer and more ruthless than you leading the charge. No work, no reward. If it's a thorny matter, I might not be able to handle it. Guan Yin will attend to it all. No thorny matters shall prevail. Do not try to fool me. Guan Yin instructed me to practice quietly here. Why would she intervene?" The Long Princess wore a long face. The Long Princess wore a long face and said, "How can you be so timid? This is a great opportunity. More people are vying for it than you could even imagine. Guan Yin chose you only because she wanted someone she could trust. Can't you see that?" Black Bear Guai was speechless for a long time. The Long Princess had run out of patience. "So little ambition. Forget it. I'll let Guan Yin know." "Dear Princess, Honorable Princess, that's not what I meant. I'll go." Only when she saw the eager look in Black Bear Guai's eyes did the princess roll her eyes again. Leaving Red Boy behind, she drifted away. Seeing her leave, Red Boy hastily asked Black Bear Guai, "What exactly is this task? I want to leave. Why don't you tell Guan Yin to take me with you?" "It's a matter of great importance, but as you just heard, Guan Yin didn't want you to go. Don't pester me anymore. I don't want to lose this opportunity for your sake." A few days later, Black Bear Guai had finished his preparations. Wielding a black tasseled spear, was about to set off. Red Boy, who had been waiting outside the bamboo grove for days, hurriedly caught up with him and once again insisted on accompanying him. Contrary to his usual manner, Black Bear Guai tried to persuade him. "Red Boy, Guan Yin has instructed that you must stay here. Even your father has been pressed into service this time. Surely you can see how perilous it is." "It's no laughing matter." They touched the encaging band around his head and side. "To risk one's life is just to remove a headband. It's not worth it." With that, he transformed his body into a black wind and swiftly vanished, paying no heed to Red Boy's desperate shouts. Afterward, Red Boy waited for him outside the bamboo grove for a long time, but he never saw him return. Later, when Red Boy recalled, he realized that it was the last time he ever saw Black Bear Guai in Guan Yin's place. I think this was when the Black Bear Guai went to fight Wukong. Okay, that's the kings. Now to characters. Ugh, my throat. It seems like it's very short, this one. It's just 2, which is nice. For me. Alright. White-clad noble. A serpent youth in white, with furious gaze, writes poems, dances, yet fierce in battle's blaze. On a spring day with a mild wind, in the marsh of white mist, an old wolf brews tea over a stove. Watching the white reflection in the water, he mutters, "You and I should not be here." The white-clad noble, amid spear practice, hears these words. Swift as thought, he hurls his spear towards the stove, and in another instant, he flashes over, grips the haft, and stands poised before the aged Yaogwai. Shall we sip blood or tea? Tea. Sit. They sit face to face. The old wolf hands the noble a bowl of tea. The noble drains it in one gulp. Fine tea. The old wolf nods. Does a raised mountain garrison warrant so many schemes? The noble replies, I come at my brother's command. There are no schemes. The old wolf retorts, my return from death, was it not a scheme? The noble says nothing. The old wolf gazes at him, also silent despite the cloudiness in the wolf's eyes. His unease is apparent. The noble ponders for a moment, then finally answers, that truly wasn't a scheme. If not a scheme, then what is it? Have you heard about the child in the court? The Buddhas have a spell. They piece together items that mimic the body, chant the mantra of revival, and thus bring back a life. The old wolf smiles bitterly and shakes his head. That master most assuredly wields no such power. Indeed, he does not, yet the foul relic he attained bears this potency. The old wolf says anxiously, but living like this, I can barely sleep or eat in peace. When doom is nigh, life may yet persist. When blessed with life, the loom of death lingers. Breathe and make peace with it, and you may find your tranquility. The old wolf says nothing. The noble lowers his eyes, also silent, for all the uncanniness of his eyes. His compassion is apparent. The old wolf says, I'll leave this tea to you. Better to drink tea. The old wolf rises with a sweep of his sleeve, sighing deeply. Living like this on their blood. How could I bear to do that? He totters away, not by the path he came, but turning down a fork in the road beside the marsh. Tell the master he doesn't need to come see me anymore. Because he's gonna hang himself. I think it's Elder Jinchi, reborn as an old wolf. That's the corpse we saw, hanging on the tree. Keeper of Blackwind Mountain. A kind face veils his virtuous light. The benevolent eyes mask his might. To the one he grants a wondrous spell. For that the story has yet to tell. As stated in the celestial laws, a keeper has the duty to observe the living beings in his domain and nurture the soil and streams. That day, as the keeper of the Blackwind Mountain made his customary rounds on the hills, tending to mortal concerns, he saw an aged Taoist drawing near from a distance. A vestment embellished with stars, a herb-gathering basket plaited from verdant creepers, a fishing drum taped in his hand, and a song about the lofty moon. In just a few steps he glided his way to the keeper. The keeper looked closely and was sure they had never met, but judging from the Taoist's white hair, vibrating face, and bright eyes full of authority, the keeper knew he was no ordinary mortal. Hastily he greeted the Taoist master. This humble keeper pays his respects. The old Taoist nodded slightly and passed his basket to the keeper. The keeper took a look and saw that the basket was filled with rare and mystical items, as well as the miraculous herbs. He couldn't help but be startled and asked, "How can a humble keeper accept such a generous gift?" The Taoist smiled and said, "I was just passing through this place, but I knew that soon there would be a great upheaval in this mountain. I thought the items in this basket would help you weather the storm for a while, so I came to visit." "What made you say this, sir?" "I have an old acquaintance with a bad temper. Although he has amassed a measure of merit, I worry that his arrogant nature, he shall find it impossible to stay out of trouble. I fear he will bring great disaster upon himself again." It's talking about Wukong. Let me see the description of this old Taoist. White hair, vibrating face, and a bright eyes full of authority. I think it's Yuan Shoucheng. The keeper thought carefully and said sincerely, "What can a humble keeper be of help?" Seeing that the keeper was quite astute, the old Taoist gestured for him to draw near. He leaned in and murmured something into the keeper's ear, then instructed, "If you chance upon him in the mountain, pass on these 2 spells. I cannot reveal myself, hence I rely on you to teach him as a means of honoring our bond." The keeper was immensely grateful and bowed deeply in appreciation. The old Taoist returned the bow and was about to leave on a cloud. The keeper hurriedly asked, "May I inquire, Taoist master, from whence do you hail?" By the time the keeper spoke, the Taoist had already vanished into the distance. A leaf floated down from the sky, its scent faint yet distinct, its tip extremely slender and long, a Bodhi leaf. At that moment a revelation dawned upon the keeper. He bowed and paid his respects to the departing silhouette, until the clouds and mists obscuring his sight, then turned to depart. The leaf, say, extremely slender and long, a Bodhi leaf. A Bodhi leaf? He's not here. Where is he? He should be in I think there's characters. Yeah. Why does he not appear here? Do I have to do a new game plus to actually have him show up? Anyways, that'll do for this bunch of lore reading. Maybe I'll read the mantle as well. Where is it? Right here. Fireproof mantle. Actually, you can't read it. Actually, you can. Let everything else burn. I care for nothing but my master. Give it to me quickly. Yeah, this is the Kasaya. Although I thought it was meant to be yellow. Oh well, whatever. And this is the Jinguban. This is Wukong's weapon. Well, anyway, yeah. That's all I can muster. Because my voice is gonna be destroyed if I keep going. One chapter at a time. Chapter 3 is gonna kill me. Holy shit. Well, maybe chapter 4. I think there's a lot of characters there. Oh. Oh, what do you know? An hour and 30 minutes, that's all I can do. Turn to title screen. Should I enter a new cycle? I have to fight Erlong again. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I should go ahead with it. Should I? Nah. I'll leave it for the very end. No, it's the last 2 entries anyway, so yeah. I'll leave it here for now, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Holy shit. There's so much reading. You know, it's Peach.